This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed.
Cosplay with swords is a lot of fun, but there's a big but. If you draw your sword, you should be able to put it back into the scabbard or saya in a proper way without needing minutes and minutes and minutes to find the opening and looking at it all the time. Therefore, have a close look. The left hand grabs the scabbard and you pull the sword between the index finger and the thumb, which wrap around the opening, and so you know where your sword will go. And as you see, that is not only working with steel or hard plastic, but also with the soft cosplay swords. In some cases, the sword might be too long to put it back in this way. For this, we have here an alternative way. You grab the sword not by the handle or grip. You push it out on the crossguard or tsuba while grabbing at the lower part of the blade. You then rest it on your shoulder and grip it in the normal way. For getting it back into the scabbard, you just reverse the whole process. You put the sword on your left shoulder, grab it at the lower part of the blade, and then you can put it back into the scabbard. Again, this is not only possible with the hard plastic or steel swords, it can be well performed with the rubbery or foamy type of cosplay swords. As you see, this sword I'm using here is quite wobbly, and I can still perfectly put it back into the scabbard without looking at the scabbard and without needing minutes and minutes to find the opening. Of course, this type of putting the sword back into the scabbard is inspired by Japanese traditions, but it works well also with modern types of sabers or also with European medieval swords. It's just an elegant way that looks much cooler and makes your cosplay cooler in this way. There are of course many different types of how to put the sword back into the scabbard. We restrict ourselves to these two methods, the simple one and the more complex one that I use here. And that has a reason, because with the more complex way of dealing with the sword means I can draw ridiculously long swords. So here I'm using a sword that has 1 meter 80 in length. This is clearly not a cosplay sword because it has a steel blade, but it's fine to demonstrate the technique. Historically, you would usually have a second person holding the scabbard to draw such a long sword by just stepping forward. There were later instances where people would draw such long swords on stage with a more concealed method than I do it here, but with the basic principle being the same. I demonstrate it here very openly so that you can grab the basics of the technique. So, no excuses, even for Monster Hunter cosplayers. There is a method to put back ridiculously long swords back into the scabbard and still look cool with it. Hey, but I have an excuse. I wear my sword without a scabbard, so I don't need these fancy techniques that you are showing here. Yeah, not entirely true. Also, you will have to put your sword back somehow when you're walking around. And so have a look here. Even if you just have a belt or something like that to store your sword, the same technique can be applied here and you can still put it away in a decent and cool pose. So up to the next excuse. I wear my sword on the back, and we all know with the back scabbard stuff, this is complicated. There's almost no way to do that properly. Well, yeah, there are some technical solutions from the scabbard side, but it's in fact very simple to deal with it if you have a normal scabbard. After drawing the sword, you also draw out the scabbard, put the sword back, and then you can put the whole thing back on your back. Very simple. Next excuse, I have two swords, or if you come from the One Piece cosplay, I have three. No problem. Watch this. I can put one sword back at a time and then the second one. No miracle. If my thumb is blocked by the second sword, I can still use the index finger and the middle finger to guide my sword back into the scabbard. No problem at all. So, get some exercise before the next cosplay event and look much cooler when you put back your sword again. Hope you enjoyed that. For us it was a lot of fun. See you around next time.